Hi everyone, I'm Diane and this is my channel for learning to paint the natural world in watercolour. Every day I paint in my studio and share fun and helpful projects like these with you, full of ideas for painting the natural world with a touch of magic. As well, I have loads of tips to share on technique, materials and inspiration, so why not click subscribe and join me here to start your wonderful watercolour journey. So here's a photo of two of our beautiful chickens who live in our garden with us. This is Mrs. White and this is Mrs. Grey. These two characters have got the biggest personalities you could wish for as far as chickens go. They do everything differently from all the others. They constantly go broody. They're always off on the prowl, wandering around, getting lost, being late for dinner and all the rest of it. But at this particular moment in this photo that Tamsin took, they were happily sitting down together, having a natter under a tree in the shade. And so we thought that would make a lovely painting. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do those two chickens, and I'm going to surround them with some of the wildflowers that are growing in our natural garden here in France. And what we have here is, this is wall pennywort, apparently, this stuff here, which grows in all the stone walls that are around us. I don't know how, they just grow between the rocks, I don't know how. And this is blackberry, which is so pretty, and it's full of fruit, it's everywhere. And in the autumn we were able to gather the blackberries and make blackberry jam and blackberry jelly and all the rest of it. So that's lovely, it's so pretty, isn't it? And this, I'm not quite sure what this is. We think it might be what did we say it might be, Tamsin? Toadflax, yes, because the flowers, I'm not sure if you can see that. The flowers look like toadflax flowers, but according to my book on flowers, it should have ivy leaf shaped leaves. And this one doesn't. So I don't know if it's a different type of toadflax or whether it's something completely different. I don't know whether anyone out there might know what that is. It's very common, it's nothing special, but I'm absolutely, totally hopeless when it comes to identifying plants. I'll tell you what a dandelion looks like, and a daisy, that's about my limit, so I have to look it all up. Anyway, so there's the photo. I also did this photo in black and white as well. And if this is a tip for you, of course, you probably know this, but it is a thought. You can always use that, a black and white printout like that, if you want to use it to make your own traceable. You just go over the back with some soft graphite pencil and then trace it, and that would work fine. Or you can go to my website and you can download my sketch and do the same to that. So that's another way. Or you can spend a whole lifetime learning how to paint and draw, and then you'll be able to do it all yourself. Of course, for some of us, it's too late to start, isn't it? Like me, I wouldn't start learning to, let's say, skateboard. That would be a thing of the past for me. But I did learn to draw, so aren't I the lucky one? This is my first sketch that I did in my little sketchbook from the photo there, Mrs. White, Mrs. Grey, having a chat. And that's where I decide where I'm going to put the flowers going around and about and everything. And then I scaled it up onto this piece of paper here, just to make sure that the arrangement would work, because sometimes when you go from small to big, you know, it doesn't necessarily work, but it does work. So now third stage is to find my stretched paper, which I prepared earlier, which is here. And now I'm going to transfer the larger of those two sketches onto there. So don't go away, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so before we start the actual painting, I just want to talk about the colours that I've chosen for my palette, which you can see I've swatched them out here. And this is quite a varied palette compared to what I might normally choose, in a way. So I have got, obviously we need some red for the combs and the wattles on the bird, so I've picked out my cadmium red there. And I'll probably mix that with a little bit of quinacridone gold. And then for the pennywort, these plants here, I'm going to use Naples yellow mixed with quinacridone gold and a little bit of olive green, which I've got here. And then I've got Davy's Grey here. I haven't got it in a tube. I've only got it in a pan. But anyway, that's Davy's Grey, which is a very light grey, and I'm going to use that for the chickens. And also Potter's Pink, which is here. And I'm going to use that also for the chickens, for their beaks and things, in conjunction with some other colours. And for the blackberry flowers, and perhaps a little bit in the pennywort. And then the green bits are going to be quinacridone gold, olive green, and maybe a little bit of cobalt blue perhaps. And I've got quinacridone violet here in case I need to put in any shadows. So those are the basic colours. I'll list them in the description below for you so that you know. Now, just to demonstrate actually this thing about squeezing out paints, this is Potter's Pink. I squeezed that out of a tube about half an hour ago. And as you can see, it's already developed a skin on the top. I think you should be able to see that. There's a skin on the top there. Yet when I brush it gently with the brush, it picks up colour. But I can pick up as little as I like. If I were to plunge my brush into it, it's obviously still soft, but it's perfectly controllable. So don't worry about using your tubes in these little palettes or any other kind of palette. They soon develop a skin, they soon settle down. This one's the same. This is quinacridone gold. I put that out, I don't know, 5 minutes ago, that one, and it's already started to skin over. You see? It's not actually releasing any paint at all until I put a little bit. It's a bit like custard. You know, how it gets the skin as it starts to cool. It's the same. It's probably a completely different chemical process, but it's the same in the end. It looks the same anyway. So that's that. I've tried to convert this little sketch via that bigger one there into this. So now this is on my stretched piece of paper, and I've got the two chickens in the middle, and they're kind of surrounded by plants. And what I've done here in the surrounding and for the chickens, I've left those in pencil. So I haven't inked them in. It's not a pen and ink painting, but some of the leaves of the blackberries and some of these plants on this side I've done in ink, and some of it I've done in pencil, just to give a little bit more variety. It's just another way of doing it. So I thought you might like to see that. And now I'm going to plunge into the painting of this picture. Hope you are ready. I'm not sure if I am. Anyway, let's begin. I'm going to start with the combs on these little people here, because I think that is the strongest colour, and so I think that ought to go in first. The strongest always goes first. And I'll just move my water a little bit closer. And into that cadmium red, I'm going to drop loosely some quinacridone gold. And then on this one, I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to start with the quinacridone gold and drop in some red. And let that bleed. Where is my model? I need my... Okay, so just touching the edge of that to let that spread a little bit into the body of the hen. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of Potter's Pink, if it will release itself. It's been sitting there drying for hours. And do the beaks in Potter's Pink. And then add a tiny touch of cobalt blue for the under part of the beak, which will be a little bit shadowy. And then I might just encourage this down so that it has a slightly orangey tint to it. And the same thing on the other side here. I'm going to put some quinacridone with some Potter's Pink. Do the beak. This one actually, because she's a darker bird, she's actually got a much darker beak, so I'm going to drop some grey in there. because her beak is indeed grey. And then we'll pull that colour around her eye there. Let that blend with the comb a little bit. And then we need to put her wattle in. So it's here. And this is white similarly. We let that dry, and then when that's dry, I'll sharpen up the shape there and I'll put their eyes in. Well, I can put her eye in straight away. If I can find some black. There we go, some nice black eye. I think we could probably, let's see. They have little nostrils here as well. So we let that dry and see what that looks like, and we can always adjust that when we want to come back to it. Now, Mrs. Grey is grey, so we need grey. Davy's grey. That's a really nice soft colour, and works very well if you don't need too much colour. So we'll just put an undercoat in for her of this soft grey, and then I'll put some on top of that afterwards when that's beginning to dry. Perhaps we'll put some darker specks of black to give the impression that we're after. I'm not going to paint these in any kind of detail. It's just an impression. Let's put a little bit more there. Mrs. White is white. So what we are going to do with her is we're going to take a little bit of cobalt blue and mix that with Davy's grey. And I'm just going to put the bluey grey in parts of her where the shadow would fall. So under her wattle, perhaps round her head there. Now this area around her eye is quite pinkish too, so we'll just pop that in. That's her ear. And then some more cobalt blue over here, where her wing is. And maybe a little bit of, maybe a little bit of thinking, maybe a little bit of, what's it called? Naples yellow. Yes, a little bit of Naples yellow. Okay, and perhaps we'll just bring her down to the ground a little bit more there. Right then, so next thing, we will sharpen up their faces a little bit when this is dry. Next thing is the flowers. So we've got these blackberry flowers, which are basically palest pink. So I'm going to do them in potter's pink. And we'll paint them like that. So I'm preparing for the day when my hand shakes so much I won't be able to be accurate. So I'm doing it on purpose at the moment. But one day Yes, well, at least said soonest mended. Anyway, I think it looks quite effective when you just indicate where the colour is, because especially if you're short-sighted and your vision isn't all that good, everything's out of focus, so you might as well paint it out of focus, mightn't you? Now the leaves, okay, concentrate. The stems on the blackberries are red. They are reddish. So here we are, Potter's Pink comes into its own again. So it just goes to show, hadn't really looked at that, so I'm going to put them in red, Potter's Pink. And then obviously it's got a little bit of shadow on it, so that will be greenish. So maybe we'll just try that in a few places. Like that. And the centers of the flowers are green. So we'll pop in some green there. And then the future berries are green with pale green bits there. Okay, and there's a little tiny bit of purplish red as well at the bottom of the future blackberries. Oops, that wasn't a future blackberry, that was a flower. Oh, nice one there I missed. Okay, now the leaves. So olive green and quinacridone gold to make some nice warm leaf mixtures, and just do that. If you put a little bit too much paint on one leaf, you can just pick it up and put it somewhere else. Okay. Then if you want to strengthen it in any particular part, you can always drop a little bit more in, near to the bottom perhaps, or on one side. And if you want to mark in the veins, if you want to make them stand out a bit darker, you can do that with a sharp implement, like that. Okay, now since I've got my brush and green, I'm going to just drop in some grasses down here. I have absolutely no idea what I'm painting on at the moment, other than it's stretched paper, but it seems very absorbent. So this is perhaps not the most thrilling experience in a painter's life, but we'll get there. These are imaginary foliages. Just a bit of grass. Make the colour change as you go across, a bit greener this side and perhaps a bit yellower this side, just to keep things interesting. You could, if you wanted to, get really, what's the word, excited and put in some poppies if you wanted. Don't know whether that's a good idea. I won't do too much of that. All right, so then now we're coming down on this side, and I thought that Naples yellow and a bit of Potter's Pink would probably be the best option for these strange things. I'm not sure if that's going to work yet. I have to try it out. I'm not going to paint every individual one. And we'll vary the colour a little bit. So the shape is there from the pencil sketch underneath. Sorry, the pen sketch underneath. So that's fine. And then it's obviously got some green in there, so we'll just come in with some dashes of green and let the whole thing hopefully bleed in a relatively acceptable manner. And then we've got the little, what did we say it was? I keep thinking bugloss, and I don't know why I keep thinking that. Hang on a minute, let me think. What did we say that was called? Tamsin? What's that? Toad. Toad of Toad Hall flax. That's right. It either is or it isn't. But it's pink, on the pink side anyway. So we'll, little bit of potter's pink, little bit of violet, purple, and just throw that in there. Okay, now the eye of the bird, we need to do some rings around there. And just sharpen up their beaks a little bit. Maybe we'll add a little bit of red, a bit more red there. Okay. Hello. So I let the painting dry a bit, partly because I was interrupted by a friend who came round for a cup of tea, so we had to take a break there. And now I'm just going to finish off with a few feathery strokes on the back of the darker grey bird. This is Davy's grey again, and you can see the granulation there. This is the granulating paint, so it does what it says on the tin, so to speak. And so we just give her a little bit of texture. In reality, she's a fairly dark grey chicken, but I'm a believer in using my artistic license. It gets a lot of use, my artistic license does, more than my driver's license does actually these days. And so artistic license says you do not have to paint what you see. You paint what you would like to see. And for example, in this original photo here, there's a very nice old oak tree there by the side of these chickens. But I know from experience that painting tree bark is one of two or three things about painting tree bark. One, it tends to be difficult. Two, it tends to bring a very heavy effect to your painting if you try to render all of this. And three, I don't think it's as pretty as a flower. So out with the bark and the tree and in with the brambles. I hope you agree with me that that's a sensible thing to do. So we're just going to drop a little bit of pinkish grey down the front of this young lady here. And then I might put a tiny bit of shadow on the back of her, that's all. And I've reduced the grass. Again, they're sitting on grass here, yellowy green grass. Just reduce that to an impression. And I've put some flowers in behind them here. And I could put the sky in, I could do lots of things, but I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to call that a day. I think there's enough detail there to convey the idea that those are chickens. I think it looks quite pretty. You could put more poppies if you wanted to. I might just paint this flower here, and maybe, just maybe, with a little dab of quinacridone gold, I might... Can you see what it is yet? Come the bee brigade. So there's the signature bee, and I think I'm going to call that a day and go and have a nice cup of tea. So I'll let you have a lovely evening, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me some of your wonderful, affirmative, life-saving comments in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget to check the description box underneath the video, little down arrow pointing down. There you will find all sorts of information about the paints that I used and the other bits and pieces that I couldn't live without. So enjoy that, and I'll see you again soon. Bye everybody. Bye bye.